there. Welcome, civilians. You've arrived at the home of civilized and thought-provoking commentary. Get ready for elevation, growth, and experience. I am the civilized woman.
Hello, civilians. Happy hump day to y'all. It is Wednesday. It is the last week of January, y'all. Can you believe it? Y'all, I said this in my last video, but January feels like it went by so fast and like it's been like 6 months already, all at the same time, right? A lot going on. I hope y'all are doing well. Well, listen, we're gathered here because y'all know the season finale of Love and Marriage Huntsville was on Saturday. If you haven't seen my review for that, please go check that out. Well, and then they did a sneak peek of the reunion part 1, and some things came out of that. And as a result, Miss Mel Shari decided that she was going to come out and address the demons. And I'm glad she did. I really am. It's unfortunate that she had to, because some of the stuff that came out were things that were not it's beyond just reality TV. At this point, you're trying to mess with somebody's reputation, and we've seen how hard Mel has worked to get to where she's gotten over the past few years after her marriage ended. It is not easy to start over at all, and for her to have done so spectacularly at this point, while being a single mother of 4 children, is really something to marvel at and admire. So to have people come out and there be a concerted effort against your character and your reputation, you can't let that slide. You cannot let that slide. So I want to give a shout out to When Tay Talks, because I actually saw this on When Tay Talks page. I saw the live. For some reason, I didn't get the notification, so I didn't even know that Mel went live till I happened to go into YouTube and saw a couple people had it. Empress had it too. I think that's where I saw it first, but not the whole thing. Empress kind of did it in segment, but when Tay Talk had the whole thing throughout. When Mel started, Instagram only lets you do an hour at a time, so it ended up being more like a 2-parter, because it cut off at the almost hour mark or at hour mark, and then it started again. So I'm just gonna give my takeaway from Mel's live, with her setting the record straight. She said some things in there that I definitely can concur with. She is the reality TV queen. That is just facts on facts on facts. There and is the one that is always used to get the cast to open up when production can't get them to do what they need to do. Because you see, Mel understands that they're doing reality TV. Y'all remember when Tisha had that, I don't know if it was the blogger thing, the mommy podcast or whatever event it was, and she didn't want to do it. Whether it was because she didn't want to invite Mel or whatever the issue was, it must have been like season 1 or 2. And Mel was like, listen, because the show was paying for it, and they were like, if you don't, let her come, we're not going to film this. And like Mel had to get into, producer mode and be like, hey, Tisha, listen, you need to put this to the side for a minute and let's get this done. So Mel kind of is always the one that they call on, even though these people, they, now production use these people to come at Mel. When they can't get the people to do what they need them to do, Mel is the one that they come to for that. When things get a little stale, they need it put together, she's the one that they come to for that. And honestly, my overall feel, she's the engine. Like she's the big engine. Without her, is there's no motion to this show, in my opinion. But the way she talked, the overall tenor of this interview to me sounded like she may be on her way out. I think she may have come to the point, because she mentioned, towards the end, that you can't put a price on peace, and that's very, very true. There's not a dollar amount that can compensate you fully for your peace. So is it worth it to her to remain on this show and continue to potentially, jeopardize her peace? Only time will tell. But that's just kind of the tenor, the spirit that I got from the interview. And if she walks out the door, they just need to shut it down because there's no reason. There's absolutely no show without her. It is completely bogus without her. We see what it looks like when she's not a part of the storyline. Don't nobody pay attention. So they definitely need her more than she needs them. And she is literally the only one that's actually doing reality TV and not acting like the rest of the cast. If you're not willing to be a puppet to go against Mel, you will not last on this show. Let's cue in Sunny. And it's a shame. If you are not willing to go against Mel on the show, you are not going to last long. That is a very redactive script that Carlos King tends to use. He is so unoriginal. It is a bore. Oh, yawn. It is a bore. He's so unoriginal. It's just pathetic, in my opinion. Just very pathetic. Mel shows genuine love to the cast and support to them, by her words and her actions, and that's never reciprocated to her. And we've seen that these people show no empathy, no sympathy for what Mel has gone through and is going through. They don't even think about her kids when with everything that she's dealing with. So most of the things Mel brings up, especially this season, she's not interested in. That was what she was saying. She was like, I didn't really care to talk about the whole Marie's lipstick thing. I didn't care to talk about the whole Trish lipstick thing. Trish Martell thing. They wanted her to bring up something with Nell. Nell didn't really want to talk about it, and Mel knows how to read the room. So if it looks like people don't want to talk about it, she can try to finesse it a little bit, but she's not gonna push too far because she's not one to disrespect boundaries because she likes her boundaries to be respected, and also she's not really invested or she don't care that much to get stuff out these people. But when production can't, like the lipstick thing that Marie's DUI, that was all over social media. Like how is that not going to be brought up on the show? Now I know they're accustomed to the only thing that's brought up on the show is Mel and Martell's business, but you can't not talk about the Maurice thing. And it's crazy to me because this is literally the first season that Scott 2.0 has actually earned their paycheck. They have been on this show for however many seasons it's been on, 8, 9, whatever they want to number it. And this is the first season that they've actually earned their paycheck. So you're mad because you have to earn your paycheck on your own sweat and on your own merit and not off of somebody else's storyline. That's just crazy to me. So basically, Mel be doing production's job, y'all, and I hope that gets reflected on her pay. She really be doing production's job because she's the one that has to try when they can't get these people to do anything because she is the force. So they got to get the force to go in and make it happen when they can't do it. So the first hour was of the live was predominantly focused on Kimmy, and based on what Mel said, this was deaded. There was no reason for it to come up at the reunion. They had chopped up. Y'all remember the scene when she was being the bone carrier about Trisha when Mel invited her to her home. That was because they had squashed the whole lipstick thing. She had talked to Kimmy. She had talked to Maurice. Like it was deaded. So for Kimmy to come on there and then want to do a bad rehearsed read talking about this lady got a bad BBL and calling her a B, it's like, where is that even coming from? Where is that even coming from? When we were at a good place, we chopped it up, we're good. Where's that even coming from? So it's crazy that they can talk offline and it be good, and then as soon as these cameras come on, it's like it's a whole different story. And then of course Trish is next up. She talks about Trish. She talks about not knowing Trish before, obviously. And then there was actually 2 scenes that they shot together. And, we only saw the one where she was asking about Martell. Again, that's another one of those things that Mel didn't really care about. But we all know that Trish is a liar, pants on fire, in my opinion. So they also know that. So they're like, okay, Mel, you got to try and nobody can get the truth from her. You got to try and get the truth. And somewhere along the way, Trisha, reveals that she knows, Martell's baby mama, and I guess because Ken, maybe Ken that's from Ohio. Um, so I guess she didn't want to make the mistake of holding that too close to the vest, or bringing, or being like like Stormy, and not releasing it and not sharing it beforehand. But she, like, the same way she asked Kimmy for advice that they showed about balancing motherhood and entrepreneurship, her and Mel had that same conversation. They didn't show that part, but they only showed the part with her asking about Martell. These edits. Whoo, Lord have mercy. Carlos is trifling. In my opinion, he is absolutely trifling. It don't make no sense. It absolutely makes no sense. So, as we discussed before, Trisha has no reason to have this kind of venom against Mel, except for obviously following the script and the fact that she slept with that lady's husband. He might have still been her husband at the time he slept with her. And then I'm telling you, y'all, soul ties is so real. Like, it's like every woman that has entangled themselves with Martell in some kind of way get obsessed with Mel. It is crazy because Trisha has way too much venom for somebody who don't know Mel, which only means that it has to do more with Martell, like I've talked about in the past. So I'm not gonna belabor that. And then in part 2, she turns her attention to Destiny. She gives the history of the timeline, how they even got acquainted with each other just by virtue of LeBerick being Martell's best friend. That's how they got acquainted with each other. And at the end of September 2019, Mel was pregnant with Sugar Mama. So her and Martell, April 2020, they stopped, she separated, all of that. She moved out and was never together again. So based on what Mel is letting us know, at what point would there have been an opportunity for Mel to quote unquote groom her? Y'all, that's a very serious accusation. That's the kind of thing that messes with people's reputation and their character, and can cost them business and money down the line. I said it in my review last week, and I'm going to say it again. She may be low man on the totem pole, but she needs to be sued. Hands down, she needs to be sued. This cannot slide. She needs to be sued. Without question. At what point would Mel have been in a position when she was pregnant? Then we had a whole panorama where the entire world was shut down. Ain't nobody trying to go nowhere. Mel said that they stopped the kids. They took the kids out of school before the schools even closed. So at what point, and was this a conversation you had with your husband? Because at what point would Mel have had the opportunity to groom you? At what point? To ready you and prepare you for something of a sexual nature of some sort. At what point would Mel have had an opportunity to groom you? Why would you even say something like that? What's your proof? Besides the fact that I can confidently say that I don't believe that to be a truth, that Mel groomed you. What's your proof? You are absolutely the girl who cried wolf, and are absolutely single black female. Because if you lie in one area, why should people believe you in any other area? And the fact that production let that slide was very, very stupid. I don't know the risk reward calculations they did on this, but I don't think it's going to work in their favor. I think in their minds they're kind of like, well, she said it, we're going to run with it. And see how much spark we get off it, and we'll worry about the blowback later on. Mel does major business. She does with major people. She doesn't need her good name disparaged over nonsense. This is complete and utter nonsense. Like, you sit here, Destiny, and talk about how terrible this lady is, but at every turn you try to be up her tail. Mel mentioned about, like, y'all know when she left the vow renewal because And she did clarify at that time there was not a no contact order. It was just her boundary that she had set. She had let production know that she don't want to be around Martell. That's why they were in like close proximity like that to each other, which makes complete and total sense. I think we forget that they've been filmed this, because she said that the reunion was filmed in October. But so when Nell left, she went to Nell and she explained that she was leaving. It was not she didn't make no scene. Prior to that, they all sat at the table. They had talked about the kids. They had a normal conversation. So when Mel went to Nell and said, "Listen, I'm leaving," Nell calls a photographer over and says, she wants to take a picture. Mel says, "Destiny, trying to be up in the picture, trying to be next to Mel." And then you want to come on there and act like, Destiny is not okay, in my opinion. She is not okay. And I think Lil Barrick, as her co-parent, might need to really consider taking some serious action concerning their child. I'm sorry to say, but she is not well the way she's acting. It is crazy to accuse somebody of something like that and then try to follow her around like a puppy dog at every chance you get. And then y'all remember that reunion when she said she don't know where her and Mel stood. Mel went through. Y'all know Mel don't play. She got receipts for days, so she went through the receipts of they're conversing with each other, and Destiny trying to ride her bumper. When Mel said, "Oh, I'm doing this or that with my kids or whatever," "Oh, Law and I can meet you." He like what's wrong with you? Trying to be invited and everything this lady got going on with her kids. It is just so weird. It is an absolute obsession. It is an obsession. So Mel brings up a very interesting scenario. She brings up the topic of workplace retaliation, and that y'all know retaliation occurs when you may not know, but retaliation basically occurs, when an employer, like whether it's your manager, your supervisor, your director, either fires an employee or takes other actions that are adverse actions against the employee, because they didn't get their way from the employee. So your boss, your manager, like some of y'all may have, get propositioned by your bosses, and when you turn down the proposition, if you know what I'm saying, then all of a sudden you notice that your hours are cut, you get demoted, that kind of thing. Retaliation because you didn't give them what they want. Mel mentioned that a high level individual affiliated with the show wanted to be her TV manager. Now that is somebody who books you for different TV appearances and shows, talk shows, different things of that nature. Now Mel said because she saw how this person moves and she don't have proof all the way, but she just knows that they're not aligned, and she turned them down, and all of a sudden she posed a question to the people in the chat. Have we noticed that there was a higher, kind of aim at, attacking her this season? A lot of people in the chat said yes. And that alludes to the fact that that's the retaliation she's getting, because she didn't let somebody hang her, by the ankles over the balcony like Big Red did. What's the boy's face in the 5 Heartbeats? You lazy goat. In my opinion, it can't, based on that what she said, it can't be nobody but Carlos. In my opinion, he would be the only one. So you don't want to take her suggestion, because one of the things Mel also says in here is that, I've come to her saying, my brother and his partner would be willing to film more. I think we should do this. I think we should try that. Try to get the show to be in a more positive direction. And you won't take her suggestion unless you're desperate and you don't have any way to go. But you don't take her suggestion, but you want to have your hands in her pockets. In spite of you, she's working her butt off, and all these things that have nothing to do with you. She has the opportunities that she has because of the work that she puts in and the people that surround her and support her in that. And you lazy goats want to be able to Just unimaginative goats want to be able to eat off of that. When you can't even do right by her on the show that you directly get paid from. Go sit on a cactus, Carlos. That is just beyond ridiculous. So as far as the cast is concerned, she moves to the Fletchers, Nell and Chris. And you can tell this really, really hurt Mel. Like there was a sadness and a hurt that she, got from it. And, she talked about just in general, like still helping these people, even though they were doing all this messed up stuff to her, and just not, because if she dwelled on that, it would really anger her, which, I mean, who wouldn't be angry by people, like a concerted attack against you at every turn to people you have not done anything to that will warrant that kind of attack on you. But the Fletchers, you can tell that it really, really, there was a personal hurt with them, right? So she addressed Chris's take on in the confessional when Mel had, asked him about the whole allegations that he set up Trish and Martell. And so Mel, just like I said in my review of that episode, is like Mel is not asking about this because of Martell. She could give two rats balls about Martell. Excuse my talk. I'm sorry. She don't care about Martell. It's about your character, what kind of person you are. You and your wife going around talking about how much y'all are mentor this, mentor that, mentor. So you're supposed to be trying to help these people mend their marriage, but then you're trying to set old boy up with someone else. Make that make sense. That's your character. And Mel has already made it very clear that there's no gray area. So you either going to be put in the white category or the black category, and she's going to keep it pushing. That's what that was about, Chris. That's what that was about. So Mel just says, you know what? Mostly we just hung out. Like it was just a group, a couple hang, like just a group of couple. We hang out. It would be me and my ex and her and her ex, and it'd be her and Chris and and Nell, and they y'all, Mel loves to cook, and y'all remember that Martell, when they first, divorced, he talked about how, he would do the barbecuing and then Mel would do all the sides and stuff. He kind of reminisced about that, but that's what it was, where they would come over and they would chop it up. Now, at some point, the conversation would get deep, but it was never the situation that Nell and her husband, Chris, were counseling them. If anything, if the conversation took a turn that way, it was Martell they were getting on. And Mel was like, I was just sitting there just kind of looking because they ain't really have nothing to get on me about. So that's what you call counseling? That's what you call counseling and mentoring somebody? So, y'all remember that Nell had talked about how she had to leave her sick mom to go tend to Mel. And that really, she made it seem like she was always having to run away. She was always having to pull herself away from her mother, who was sick at the time, to go see about Mel. Now, per Mel, that was not the case at all, and I absolutely believe that was not the case. Mel has people in her life to go to. Why is she going to be calling you? And especially the kind of person Mel is, from what we have seen, she would have known that your mama wasn't feeling well. She wouldn't even try to bother you. For real, she wouldn't even try to bother you. She wouldn't even try to bother you. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe her mama passed away, rest her soul, in 2019. She wouldn't, and that was the same year, Mel was pregnant with Sugar Mama. She wouldn't have been trying to bother you. So for you to say it like that, to make it seem like Mel kept you from spending the last remaining days with your mother over you trying to help her mend her marriage is really unfortunate for you to do that. That's really messed up. So Mel did say the only time that she called Nell was when Martell stole her $17,000, called her crying and screaming, which we can understand because they had just separated. So that money would have been really handy and being able to get them a place, get it set up and all of that. Because y'all remember they had 2 houses and he wouldn't let her stay in any of them, and he didn't even let her take anything for the kids. Didn't let her take none of her stuff. So that's why and that was the only time. And Mel talked about how, Miss Van would text, Nell to check on her, and, Nell said how sweet that was. And she would send her a flower, just do little thoughtful things to let her know, like in support of her, and let her know that she was thinking of her. And the only time that they did like a so-called counseling, I guess you would consider it, was when, Mel threw that glass, because old boy was talking reckless. And he should be grateful that her aim was off. That's the only time. And that was for filming purposes. That's what Mel said. It's very, very unfortunate with the Fletchers, because Mel was a really good friend to them. And I guess they're not as successful as they put on if they really need the fame that comes from this rinky-dink show, that they would be willing to throw away a friendship over it. They had an opportunity to really build like a television presence. Had they stuck on focusing on their family. But instead they chose to follow the tired and through strategy of ganging up on Mel. They would have been better off had they just stuck with what they were doing. People actually loved them. It was a breath of fresh air. The ratings went up. You think if you wouldn't have stuck to that and the ratings kept going up, that, Carlos would have, he would have found a way to mess with it, because he's messy and he don't value traditional family. He has an issue with heterosexual relationships, in particular heterosexual marriages. That's what it gives, in my opinion. But you at least would have left there with your Y'all, you cannot put a price on integrity. Because if somebody don't trust your character and don't find you to be a person of integrity, you're going to be very limited in how far you can go. If somebody knows that you're a person of integrity, that carries a lot more weight. You're a person of character. That carries a lot more weight than being somebody of the moment who can give a good kiki or throw a little drama. That's only going to carry you but so far. And these people on this show have completely foregoed if they had any level of integrity, they've completely thrown it out the window and had a Mack truck run over it, because they have none. They have none. The fact that the Fletchers weren't even filming. Mel said yet again, production called her to go talk to them because the Fletcher says they weren't filming. She spent 2 hours talking to them, hashing it out. However it worked out, they were willing to come back to film, only to do this mess, to be a part of the gang up, in my opinion. To wrap this up, Mel called out production for not doing their due diligence, because, again, she's a receipt queen. The fact that these things would go on and they never got her side. Somebody would say X and they would just run with X. They don't go to her to get Y. That's not how you do quality and a production that is full of integrity, that is precise, that is that's just not how you do business. There's nowhere in life, if you really want to tell a full story, that you just get one side and you leave it there. That's crazy. And the onus is on them as a production, as a company, to do their due diligence in every area, at all turns, especially that whole grooming situation. That's not a light allegation. Like, I know Destiny is used to opening her mouth and saying some messed up stuff, and just for the sake of shock, and she's desperate. She don't have no other way. She don't feel like finding other ways to make money. She is doing all of this for this little bit of change. But production has a big problem, because for Mel to mention work retaliation and talk about not doing due diligence Those are all things that one may find in a lawsuit, in my opinion, because I'm not a lawyer. Just in my opinion. Just in my opinion. Destiny is lucky that she's so low on the totem pole that Mel can put her to the side, but don't get it twisted, Destiny. That tail's gonna get got. But she intends to focus on the puppet master first, because you always go for the big fish first. How desperate do you have to be, Destiny, to participate in such low brow activity? You think Carlos is going to save you? Ma'am, you are absolutely the sacrificial lamb. Mel's not closing the door quietly. Now, y'all know, because that was a shout out to Queen Sheba. Queen Sheba was in the chat. And if you are a Palace member, hey, Palace, that's the thing that Queen Sheba says about closing the door quietly. Meaning you don't make no noise, don't ruffle. Anyway, get in the palace, because if you know, you know. But basically, Mel said, you know what? I'm not. There's a time for that, and no, now we gonna rattle and shake some tables. That's what we gonna do. But she's not showing her whole hand, y'all. She did leave us enough breadcrumbs to let us know that folks need to get ready, because it's going down. Y'all, that's all I got. Until next time.
Please like, comment, share, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.